Do you think the consciousness in us is actually ours? Or something else which is controlling us? Well, it's a topic for later, but today we see a movie based on this concept. Hello, and welcome back to every recap ever. Today we are seeing a sci-fi action movie called Weaponized. As usual, subscribe to our channel for more such recaps, and let's go. The head of weapons and security, Norris, calls his son on his birthday. He's currently working at the security of the White House. After hanging up the call, Norris sees the news that the President building has been destroyed in an explosion. He tries to call his son again, but it doesn't connect. So it turns out terrorists were behind this and the country is now ready to counterattack. They track down the whereabouts of the terrorists. However, the soldiers get ambushed using mines and weapons. Somehow, only one soldier named Jack manages to survive until the backup arrives. 6 months have passed for this fight and Norris is still struggling to cope up with the death of his son. He has a meeting with US officials about the tech his company is developing. Meanwhile, we meet a detective named Walker. He has a normal family and lives peacefully with his wife, Angela, and daughter Katie. One morning during breakfast, he gets a call from his colleague, Phil. He asks him to report to the headquarters immediately. Apparently, he has to interrogate some guy named Jack. Yeah, he is the same guy we saw at the start. So let's rewind a few hours back. Jack comes to the cafe he usually goes to, and after a few minutes, he blacks out. When he regains consciousness, he finds himself handcuffed by the cops. Apparently, he has unalived almost everyone at the cafe. Coming back to the present, Walker goes to the interrogation room with Phil and starts asking questions. However, he knows nothing about the incident. Their boss Doug calls both of them outside and informs them that the FBI has requested custody of Jack for some reason. So there's nothing they can do right now. Walker and Phil still try to talk to him, however something just snaps in Jack, and he unalives himself. This shocks the entire department and they try to brush it off thinking he was just mentally unstable. Doug orders Walker to take the day off and rest, as this scene has affected him the most. Even Phil tries to calm him down, however Walker is fixated on the guy being innocent. He has that strange feeling that something weird is happening here. At night, he even has a nightmare of Jack and he wakes up suddenly hearing his phone ringing. A strange voice on the call asks him to meet tomorrow in the park if he wants to know the truth. The next morning, he gives an excuse of jogging to his wife and goes to meet the mysterious person in the park. His name is Professor Peterson and he informs him that Jack was innocent. He can't go into the details as there may be people monitoring him, but he hands him an envelope. Walker goes to the cafe to recreate the scene in his mind and figures that Jack's actual target was a guy named Senator Jones, and the rest of the shootings were just a cover-up. He then goes to his office and tries to access the pen drive, but it is protected by the password. So he goes to his hacker friend and asks him to crack the password on the pen drive as soon as possible. Later, with the help of Phil, they manage to find Peterson's address and go to meet him. However, Peterson refuses to accept that he ever met Walker. The guy is even sitting in a wheelchair and acting crippled. Walker gives an excuse of going to a restroom and goes to check his computer. He tries to access his research notes, but even that is password protected. With no other option, they both leave Peterson's house. Phil thinks that Walker is going crazy and trying to involve some innocent citizens into this case. On the other side, Norris learns that Peterson tried to access his research note with an invalid password and calls him. Yeah, Peterson works for Norris and he informs him about the two detectives. Later, while driving his daughter home, Walker's car gets attacked by an unknown man. He somehow takes him down and quickly takes his daughter to the hospital. His wife, who's a nurse there, is very angry with him. According to her, his job is the reason their daughter is in danger now. Walker later arrests Peterson as a suspect of this incident. However, they don't have any evidence against him. So after some arguments with his boss, Walker finally release him. Norris picks him up in his car and asks his subordinate to take care of Walker. Meanwhile, Walker's hacker friend visits him saying he can't do this job. So according to him, the pen drive has information about the nanotechnology which is out of this world. It is so advanced that there is military tracking attached to it. Still, Walker convinces him to keep working and try to crack this drive. Peterson returns to his house and after some time, Norris comes to visit him. Norris thinks Peterson has become a trouble for him as he revealed his secrets to Walker. With no option left, he just unalives him and we see a sad scene. Walker leaves from the headquarters and goes to meet Peterson again. However, the only thing he finds is his corpse. Phil is worried about his colleague, so he follows him and finds him beside the corpse. Walker tries to convince him and asks for some time to clear this misunderstanding. Phil thinks for a while and gives him an hour to clear himself. Deep inside, Phil knows his subordinate and he knows Walker can't do this. Walker quickly heads home to get his weapons and other belongings. His wife sees him coming, and she is looking hot. She is acting a little suspicious. I mean, she literally attacks him and tries to take him down. After an intense fight, she manages to knock him out. It's as if someone else was controlling her. Walker then wakes up in some kind of secret base, where Norris questions him about the whereabouts of the pen drive. Walker calls him a killer for taking so many innocent lives, but according to Norris, some sacrifices are necessary for the better good of the country. Yeah, he's like those die-hard country lover, who are ready to do anything for the country. However, Walker doesn't give him any answers. So with no option left, he asks Professor Chris to start the process. Chris then injects some kind of liquid in him, which makes his mind unstable and blurry. Norris then goes into a meeting with the military officials. He shows them the newly developed robot, which they can control on the battlefield. It is basically bulletproof and has high resistance. This doesn't excite the official much. Yeah, it feels very underwhelming to him. So Norris finally shows him the new machine he has developed using nanotechnology. He even gives a demo where he transfers a soldier's consciousness into a terrorist and ends up unaliving them. This technology is called swap. However, there is just one drawback. The consciousness must return before the host dies, or the soldier dies as well. This makes the official excited and asks him to present this to other officials in the conference. Meanwhile, Chris takes Walker to a room where they are going to store his consciousness into their database. Yeah. Once they get his consciousness, they can easily track down the location of the pen drive and retrieve it. However, Chris reveals that he was the one who gave him the pen drive that day. Yeah, it turns out Chris transferred his consciousness into Peterson to help him. Why do you ask? So Chris was actually a veteran soldier, and his consciousness was swapped with a scientist who was on the verge of dying. However, for some reason, some memories of Chris's past stayed in the body and kind of took over. So Chris frees Walker and shows that Norris is basically unaliving everyone who is getting in his way. The previous incident from the cafe was also his plan to unalive Senator Jones, as he was against this project. He doesn't care if innocent lives get sacrificed. So now their only way is to shut this system and destroy it. For doing this, they need to head to the lower chamber where the mainframe is kept. Meanwhile, the hacker manages to crack down the drive and starts copying the files. However, Norris's man tracks him down. He somehow tricks him, takes the copied files and runs away. The man even tries to chase him, but the hacker is just too smart for him and he easily fools him. On the other hand, Phil gets worried for Walker and starts searching for him. He tracks down his location in some warehouse owned by Norris and they decide to infiltrate it. Yeah, everyone is still thinking Walker is the bad one here. However, the hacker comes running to them. He shows them the files he copied and the dark truth of Norris. They make a plan to infiltrate the facility and save Walker quickly. Meanwhile, Chris and Walker come to the main room to shut the program. However, Chris's security code doesn't work, so Walker just shoots the frame and initiates the emergency shutdown. This makes the system unstable. On the other side, Norris is ready to give his speech to everyone about this technology. They don't have enough time and they need to stop him from revealing this technology. Walker then comes with a plan to swap his consciousness with Norris. Even though the system is unstable, he enters into the swapping chamber and swaps with Norris. Walker and Norris tells everyone about how this technology is so dangerous, and if it falls into wrong hands, there would be chaos. I mean, he is right, and even the government officials could misuse this technology. So announces this project to shut down and leaves. Oh, and let me tell you, the military officials are not so happy with Norris's sudden change of mind. Meanwhile, Phil sneaks into the facility to save Walker. He tracks down Chris and asks him to get him out of that chamber as soon as possible. However, the system has become more unstable now, so the only way to save him is to break the pod. On the other side, Norris then goes and starts the shutdown process. The official comes and holds him at gunpoint. He shoots Norris, but Phil breaks the pod and manages to recover Walker in time. Yeah. Or his consciousness could have died along with Norris. However, the danger is not over yet. As they try to leave the facility, the robot we saw earlier intercepts them. Oh, he is like the final boss in this fight. Situation seems dire as their bullets don't work on them. He is about to end them. However, Chris comes to their rescue and sacrifices himself to save them. Walker takes this chance and attacks the weak part of the robot to end this chapter once and for all. Yeah, it's finally over. Norris is no more and the system has shut down. They finally leave the facility, where all the cops are waiting for them. They seize the property and put everyone working there under arrest. Walker thanks his hacker friend for saving him. In the final bits, Walker finally reunites with his daughter and wife. The hot wife. The end. So there you have it, recap of an underrated sci-fi movie called Weaponized. So if you made it this far, don't forget to like and subscribe. That's all for today, movie nerds, and we will see you in the next video. See ya.